There are six features of a curriculum. First is who teaches. One of the six features of a curriculum is the teacher. So quality education requires quality teachers. Good teachers bring a shining light into the learning environment. They are ideal companions of the learners. With the advances in communication technology, good teachers are needed to sort out the information from the data that surround the learners. Good teachers are needed to sort out the knowledge from the information, but even more important, excellent teachers are needed to sort the wisdom from the knowledge. Institutions are as good as its teachers. Hence, the right individuals who are expected to be recruited are those with excellent and relevant preparation. These teachers should be given support with their continuing development in order to keep abreast with the changing demands of a learning society. So that is one of the features of the curriculum, the teacher. So the teacher is very plays a very significant role to the students because even if we have vast of information for the students to learn, there is still a need for guidance of a teacher to ensure that learners are still on the right track. Number two is the learner. Who do the teachers teach? The learners are at the center stage in this educative process. They are the most important factors in the learning environment. There is no teaching without them. Hence, teachers should understand and accept the learner's diverse background. Each one of them is a unique individual. They come from different sectors of society, different cultural background, socioeconomic profile, orientation, and varied experiences. Considering the domain of diversity of learners will allow the individual learner to develop his multiple intelligences at his own pace. Hence, there is a need to address and meant why teachers are to provide learning opportunities and varied experiences. So who do we teach? The learners. So that is why learners is the most significant element in the curriculum because they are the reason why we have the curriculum for the learners to learn on something. So the schools will not exist without the learners. Because again, the purpose of the school is to educate young minds. So therefore, the priority of the schools, or should just say of the teachers, are the needs of the learners. Number three, what do the teachers teach? These are the knowledge, skills, and values to help the learners cope with rapid changes, to understand and to succeed in the new work in the workplace. We must design a curriculum oriented to tomorrow. It should be remembered that what students learn will be obsolete in 10 years, and half of what they need to know to succeed in work and in life has not yet been fully developed and will have to be learned as they go along in the future. Calculators and typewriters are made obsolete by computers, and the next generation will see this being replaced. And so, the value of educational process lies not just in what they learn, but how they learn and how good they will be in the continuing to learn after they leave school. The learning episode influences the teaching learning process. The teacher is expected to prepare his syllabus or a course of study as his vehicle for instruction. The learning goals, instructional procedures, and content must be clearly explained to students. There must be a balance of theory and practice. Learners' sustained interest in the subject should be made meaningful and relevant. So the main priority of the teacher now is to equip students with the needed skills, values, and of course the theories. The world keeps on changing. So it is important for the teachers to equip students how to learn on something because some of what we have right now may, may be obsolete. One day we will just wake up and these things that we learn, like for example how to use this computer, will become will become obsolete. How do I say this? Because time will come that how we operate on something, the process will change. Okay? Because of the rapid changes when it comes also to technology. So like what I keep on saying, that in the 21st century, what should be given emphasis is that since we all know how to read, almost everyone knows how to read. These are very basic already, unlike before. So in this 21st century, the most important thing for the teachers to inculcate to their students is to learn new things and learn what they use to and relearn on some skills. Okay? Because they have to again they have to learn new things because how we do it before will become different today because of the improvement, because of the innovation. And then there are there are times that there is a need for us to unlearn things because they are already obsolete. It will just make our life difficult if we will keep on insisting that these things will still be done on that process because it has totally changed and you can no longer apply some of our skills are not applicable anymore. So there are times that there is really now a need for us to hold to let go of these things or to let go of these skills because of the changes. And of course, there are times that we have to relearn some of the things that we used to learn because there are, of course, because of the of this volatile world, there are some instances that we have to revisit some of the things that we used to learn because there are some instances that we have to use it. Okay, so that is what we mean by relearning. Therefore, how do teachers teach? So this refers now to strategies and methods. So we keep on saying that one size doesn't fit all. So it doesn't mean that in this group you were successful in that strategy. It doesn't follow that in the next group you will also become successful using that strategy. So there is a need to to know who are your learners for you to be able to provide them the appropriate learning materials, learning strategies, learning environment. Because again, one size doesn't fit all. So researchers show that there is no best strategy that could work in a million of different student backgrounds and characteristics. However, for teachers to reach effectively, they must use appropriate methodologies, approaches, and strategies coupled with compassionate and winsome nature. Teachers should select teaching methods, learning activities, and instructional materials or resources appropriate to learners and aligned to objectives of the lesson. Situations should be created to encourage learners to use higher order thinking skills. Good teachers utilize information derived from assessment to improve teaching and learning and adopt a culture of excellence. Number five, the performance. So, how much of the teaching was learned? So, as a teacher, you have now to ask yourself, so what is now the performance of the students? Because to that question, there will be this feedback if you were successful in attaining your objectives. Because if you were able, if the performance is good, then that means to say that you were successful with regards to your objectives. But of course, you need to make sure that how you check the performance of your students is aligned with with your goals, with the learning content. Okay? So when teachers teach, they formulate objectives to be accomplished by the learners. A curriculum should be clear at the beginning with what knowledge, skills, and values should be developed by the learner. So as a teacher, you need to make sure that once you step on the four corners of the learning station, you know exactly what to deliver, what to be presented in front of the class. And do not try to, to let the students guess or to think what should be the why they are in that particular setup. The students should know and understand the reason why they are inside that learning station. And of course, that is to learn. So like what we may mentioned a while ago, that the curriculum should be clear at the beginning with what knowledge, skills, and values should be developed by the learners. So at the end of the teaching act, it is necessary to find out if the objectives set were accomplished. Okay, so it is very important to check because all of our effort will be useless if it doesn't serve our purpose in that day. So we need to make sure to know if we were successful. Because if we were not successful, at least we can do something the next meeting. Okay, so learning outcomes are the product performance of the learners as a result of teaching. Performance is a feature of a curriculum that should be given emphasis. So if you will observe, TESDA is more of outcomes. So just like what we have right now in our curriculum, it's more of outcomes-based education. So you will see that we have a lot of activities. Although it's not, we cannot say that it's really activity-oriented, but at least through the different activities, students learn on something. Because without these activities, how will the teacher know if you learn on something? Okay? So the curriculum is deemed to be successful if the performance of the learner is higher than the target sets. A good curriculum is one that results in high or excellent performance. With whom do we teach? So these are now the community partners. Teaching is a collaborative undertaking. So while teachers are the focal point of the learning process, they must draw upon the resources of their environment and of their partners to be effective. Teachers must establish relationships with parents, NGOs, and their stakeholders. Partnership is a means and not an end to be pursued in itself. An absence of partnership often means a poor definition of education ends. However, as society changes, teachers will have a new beginning, an opportunity to recast their role in their communities, to change their attitude to their communities, to change the attitude of their communities and societies about them. Okay, so there are three approaches to curriculum design. One first is we have the child or learner centered approach. So this approach to curriculum design is based on the underlying philosophy that the child is the center of the educational process. So just like what I mentioned a while ago, here we believe in this design, we believe that the reason why the school exists is because there are learners. So, which means that the school will not exist without the learners. So, therefore, again, the priority are the learners. For the learners to learn, for the learners to be equipped with the necessary skills, to always consider and consider the needs of the students because again the purpose why we are here, why we have schools, why we are teachers is because there are learners. So from its design, how should the child-centered or learner-centered curriculum be approached? So let us consider the following. First, a new respect for the child is fundamental. So the child is very important in the curriculum design, and there is a need to consider their needs because again in the first place the school exists because of the learners. So second is a new freedom of action is provided. So if we are child centered, we have to respect the pacing of each one of the students for us to be able to cater their capabilities. So anyway, it's not a race, right? So since it's not a race, the important is we just have to, to do our best to make sure that they are learning. And there should be freedom from the students of, of how they are going to do it just for them to be able to attain the objectives of the day. Although still there isn't guidance of the teacher to make sure that that the children are still on the right track. But what we're trying to tell here is we should respect their pacing, their capabilities, their ways, how they can attain the objectives of the day. Because if there is no freedom, how can they they have this creativity? Okay, if we will be the one to keep on saying do this, do that. Okay, so we are teachers are just there to facilitate the learning and to ensure that they are still on the right track. Next is the whole activity is divided into units of work because of course they cannot do it all of the activities. They cannot do everything in just one setting. So the teacher need to consider the time. They need to consider the difficulty of the activities, of the learning task. For of course, for the students to be not to be stressed, for them to be able to have some time to think how they're going to do it, how to do the task. And the recognition of the need for using and exploring many media for self-discovery and self-direction is embraced. So again, it is important that the students will learn how to discover some things to be learned. It's not like spoon feeding. It is important for them to discover learnings because in that way it will become meaningful. It will be stored in a long term memory, not in the short term, making sure that it is reflective. Because again, like what I've said, to make learning meaningful. Then we have the subject centered approach, anchored in the curriculum design, which prescribes different and separate subjects into one broad field. This considers the following approaches. The primary focus is the subject matter. So in subject-centered approach, the main concern here of the teacher is the subject, in which the teacher need to make sure that the to make sure that he can present or she can deliver cover because the focus here is the subject. It doesn't matter how the students are able to cope up with the learning task, with the different theories that is being presented. But what is important is the teacher will be able to deliver all of the subject matter that is in the course of study. The emphasis is on bits and pieces of information which are detached from life to the point that the teacher is trying, just like what I've said a while ago, is trying to present cover by cover everything. So to the point that the teacher could no longer elaborate the idea in the real life situation because the teacher is being bookish already. So next is the continuing pursuit of learning outside the school is not emphasized. This is like what I've said. The teacher is being bookish because he wants to to deliver all of the subject matter that is in the course program. Learning should only take place inside the classroom. So next is the subject matter serves as a means of identifying problems of living. So the next approach is problem-centered approach. So in problem-centered approach, so the school here believes that a learner should be trained to solve real-life problems that come about because of the needs, interests, and abilities of the learners. So problems persistent with life and society that affect daily living are also considered. So most of the school activities revolve around solutions to problems like poverty, drug problems, deterioration of positive values, environmental concern, and many more. Since the school is using the problem-centered approach, case studies, the method of teaching, is popularly utilized, practical work as a solution to the problem is also used. Thus, development of business skills and social skills, construction skills to solve specific problems are given emphasis. So more and more schools or training centers are utilizing the problem centered approach.